Greetings, my dear listeners. Today, we open the first chapter of a story titled This Beast Has No Sleep. If you're drawn to tales where light always casts a shadow, and every smile might just be a mask, then listen closely. Night, forest, downpour. The roar of the rain drowned even his own thoughts. Drops pounded against his hood like pellets on armor. The guard moved slowly along the castle wall, gripping his lantern tight. The flame inside flickered, fluttering in the glass like a trapped bird. He couldn't help but recall the whispers from the watchtower. "Beware the silver wolf," one of the rookies had murmured, eyes darting in fear. Nonsense, he'd thought at the time. Bedtime stories for men had stared too long into the dark. But now, a sudden crack. Somewhere in the underbrush, a branch snapped, not from the wind, but from the weight of something living. The guard froze, then shouted, "Who's there?" The lantern flame whipped and danced, casting fractured light against the slick tree trunks, but it couldn't reach the figure lurking in the shadows. Just a silhouette, tall, broad, unmoving, like it had been carved from stone. A man? A man? "What are you doing out here on a night like this?" The guard growled, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. He stepped forward. What happened? Then he saw. His heart clenched. His knees wobbled. The stranger's hands were soaked in blood, dripping to the elbows. He raised his head in silence, and the lantern's light slid across his face. Silver hair shimmered like quicksilver. His face, smeared with blood like a mask. Naked, completely. His body wild and animalistic, but the face, those eyes stared straight into his soul. The guard didn't move. His fingers clutched the lantern handle until they turned white. Somewhere far off in the sky, or maybe in his chest, thunder cracked. The guard stumbled back. This man wasn't just a man. The silver-haired figure's gaze shifted, predatory, like a wolf before the leap. And then the night was split by a scream. Meanwhile, in the palace of Kalaim, hundreds of candles flickered, their glow dancing across marble floors and glinting off golden goblets. Music swelled in the air, mingled with the clinking of glasses and the laughter of nobles. At the center of the grand throne room stood Emperor Jan Valencia, his presence regal, unshakable. Beside him, his wife, her face as flawless and still as porcelain. They were celebrating the emperor's birthday. As always, the event was lavish, extravagant. Guests whispered to one another, casting glances full of admiration and envy. "Have you seen how many gifts there are this year? They say some of them are priceless works of art, impossible to acquire." But then, silence. She had appeared at the entrance. A woman in a black dress, sharp shoulders, a perfectly straight back, a dark veil that didn't hide her beauty, only emphasized it. Adele Oswald, widow of the late Marquis. She walked with deliberate grace, like someone summoned. Not attending, but answering a call. The entire hall watched her drift through the crowd like a shadow. The silence lasted only a heartbeat. Then came the murmurs. Unbelievable. Morning attire? On the emperor's birthday? She's doing it on purpose. She's back. What does she want this time? Adele did not falter. She seemed not to hear the whispers, not to notice the poisoned stares. She was stunning. Dark, wavy hair gathered in an elegant updo, with a few defiant strands cascading over her bare shoulders. Her green eyes, deep as a forest lake at midnight, held a storm frozen beneath a layer of ice. In her hands, she carried a black box, matte, smooth, with faint, delicate engravings. It truly did resemble an urn. The whispers turned sharper, crueler. An urn? At the emperor's birthday? She's insane. What do you think is in it? The Marquis's ashes? Why couldn't she skip this year for once? Then a voice, loud, cutting through the hush. "I don't understand why His Majesty invites her every single year." Adele swallowed the sting, slowly, like wine laced with poison. The same question haunted her. Yes, she was the widow of the late Marquis Oswald, a man of noble blood. The nobility had always whispered, gold digger, social climber, opportunist. And then came his death. The rumors turned venomous. She poisoned him, slipped something into his wine. Cold-blooded murderer, heartless thief. Soon, the nobles began to whisper about her relationship with her stepson. Shameless. She seduced him. Where does she get all this influence? Adele kept walking. The guests parted to let her through, reluctantly, disdainfully craning their necks to catch a better look at the scandalous widow. But she knew. They saw only the surface. A made-up portrait of a woman she had never been. They knew nothing, and they never had. Adele gathered every ounce of willpower. Her posture was flawless, each step measured like choreography. She smiled, lightly, carelessly, as if she hadn't heard a single venomous whisper in the hall. As if the black dress trailing behind her was a fashion statement, not a challenge. The emperor sat on his throne, relaxed, self-assured. She stopped before him, bowed her head with the proper courtesy, and greeted him in a tone that suggested she was an old friend of the household, not the tarnished shadow haunting his celebrations. The emperor smiled. His gaze traveled down the elegant lines of her figure and paused at the black gown. He said something about how striking she looked tonight. Black, she replied smoothly, symbolizes harmony. I chose this dress in hopes the empire will flourish and the nations unite beneath your banner, Your Majesty. There wasn't a trace of hesitation in her voice. No false notes. Only diplomacy so delicate it couldn't be torn, like cobweb silk. But inside, everything screamed. Her pride hung by a thread. The gown, the last relic of her former splendor, had been altered. Old mourning, old glory, old grief, recut, restitched, disguised. She feared someone might notice. The seam at the hem where the fabric no longer matched, the faded embroidered crest hidden now beneath a black flower. Better they think her mad than pitiful. Poverty is forgiven only to the conveniently dead. But she lived, and every breath felt like defiance. Her eyes swept across the room. The same faces, but hearts, cold and unknown. Their gazes burned with a predatory fire. No one here would forgive weakness. Adele had known that for a long time. She had been a target from day one. Too honest, too quiet, too beautiful, too young. Everything about her was too much for their liking. This hall had mastered the art of killing with a glance. But still, she stood, and the box remained in her hands. The emperor, intrigued and a little surprised, leaned toward the object as Adele slowly lifted the lid. Inside, tiny masterpieces, carefully arranged. Cookies, each delicate as jewelry, faintly glazed, etched with symbols reminiscent of ancient scripts. They exuded a gentle, sweet aroma, even amidst the overpowering sense of flowers and perfume in the ballroom. But the moment they saw the cookies, a wave of subdued laughter rippled through the room. They laughed out loud. A woman in black, a widow with a questionable past, and cookies? Not a jewel, not a masterpiece, not even a political gesture. Just something the kitchen maids hand out to children in a back corridor. A gift fit for a servant, not an emperor. But Adele didn't flinch. She held the box with the same quiet pride another might reserve for a diamond tiara. Her voice was clear, steady, touched with soft confidence. These desserts were her own recipe, unique, not just delicious, but unforgettable. Every ingredient chosen with care, every scent intentional. The laughter faded. Some of them stopped smiling, as if, just maybe, there was something to her words. The emperor watched her closely. He knew when someone was lying. She wasn't. Then, a voice, sharp as glass and twice as cold, sliced through the silence. The empress, poison wrapped in velvet. Careful, she said, her tone smooth and venomous. The flavor might be so good, you die before you notice. Did the late Marquis enjoy his wife's desserts as well? The room tensed. A few shocked exhales. The Empress's cruelty was nothing new. But tonight, she struck in front of everyone. Adele froze. For just a second, a chill ran down her spine. But it didn't stay. It turned to fire. Quiet, steady, burning pride. She would not let this woman humiliate her. Not tonight. I started baking after my husband died, Adele said softly but firmly. It gave my grief something to do. It saved me. Her eyes sparkled, but not from tears. She held her posture perfectly, every inch of her calm and controlled. And if the Marquis were alive to try them, I think he'd love them. Then, to the Emperor, her voice smooth as steel. But if your Majesty finds them inappropriate, you may simply throw them away. Her tone didn't waver. Her smile, icy precise. A slap in silk gloves. She didn't step back, didn't bow, just stood there, proud, unshaken. Alone, but unbreakable. Silence again. Then, the sound of footsteps. Confident, steady. Not rushed, not slow. They cut through the stillness like a blade. Heads turned. Even the indifferent ones looked now. And as if by silent order, the crowd parted. A tall man in rich attire walked with a grace that made him part of the palace itself. His silver hair shimmered like silk, catching the candlelight. casting him in something almost unreal. His face composed, coldly beautiful, his lips tight, but his eyes sparkling with interest. He walked straight toward her. "May I be the first to try the cookies?" His voice calm, but behind it, undeniable power. Everyone felt it. Adele froze for a moment. She didn't know him, or at least didn't recognize him. But as soon as he spoke, whispers swept through the room like a wave. "That's Count Baze," a name that usually lingered in the shadows behind the court. The Emperor's right hand, a legendary commander, master of the mightiest arsenals, several banks, and as rumors had it, the owner of diamond and gold mines. Despite his fame, he rarely attended receptions, and when he did, it became an event. Court ladies exchanged glances, trembled with admiration, and began giggling softly, lowering their eyes. Some already dreamed he might approach them, but he walked straight toward Adele. The Emperor laughed. A real laugh, genuine, surprised, even warm, in his voice, amusement and a hint of mischief. "You're late, and you want to steal my gift too?" he said with a wink. "But I'll allow it. Only you, my favorite count." Laughter rippled through the guests. The tension melted away like mist. The atmosphere changed. Adele was quietly astonished. For the first time, she saw the Emperor, always so cold and composed, display such open affection. Clearly, Baze was more than just an ally to him. Count Baze, without taking his eyes off Adele, slowly took a bite of the cookie. He didn't blink or purse his lips. On the contrary, a flicker of surprise crossed his face, quickly followed by satisfaction. Then another look, deep, intent, and a short but weighty verdict. "This is the most delicious cookie I've ever had in my life." The room froze. Someone gasped softly. Others held their breath. Adele felt the tension in her chest turn into a pulse pounding in her throat. The Emperor chuckled, leaning toward the table. "Who would have thought? Our beast on the battlefield, a lover of sweets. That's something new. Well then, let me see what's enchanted you so, Baze." He took one of the cookies and brought it to his mouth. Silence fell over the room. Everyone waited, breathless. Even the orchestra softened its notes, as if not to disturb the moment. The Emperor paused, like a seasoned actor, then finally spoke. "Everyone, try it. This is a true masterpiece." He said little, but those few words lit the room on fire. Courtiers rushed to the table, eager to taste, to whisper, to laugh. The chill of doubt vanished, as if it had never been. Several ladies began to praise the flavor openly, admiring Adele as though they'd always believed in her culinary genius. Adele had barely processed what had just happened when Count Baze, still looking only at her, extended his hand. "This cookie is exquisite," he said. "May I have this dance?" She looked at him, slightly confused, uncertain. His face, his voice, the way he moved, all of it stirred something within her, something eerily familiar. That striking silver hair shimmered beneath the crystal chandeliers. Sharp features, eyes that seemed to pierce right through her. Her heart clenched. She lifted her hand and placed it into his, trying to maintain her composure, her dignity. But somewhere in her mind, a door creaked open. 10 years ago, crying, a boy with silver hair, not quite a child, not yet a man, holding her hand in both of his, tears streaming down his cheeks as he pleaded. "Please don't go, Adele. I'll grow stronger. I'll do anything, just don't leave me." And she had walked away. She had to, but his eyes, they were the same eyes staring at her now. It couldn't be. Chris was the son of a miner, and Count Baze, he was an aristocrat, a hero of the Empire, the Emperor's favorite. Two different worlds, no possible bridge between them. But if Chris had grown up, he would look exactly like this. Suddenly, Baze moved, one smooth motion, his hand at her waist, and led her into a slow dance. Her fingers trembled, just for a second, and then his breath brushed her ear. A whisper, quiet and unmistakable. "It's been a long time, hasn't it, Adele?" She stumbled. Her breath caught, her eyes widened, and from her lips escaped a single word, hushed and disbelieving. "Chris?" The world vanished. The music, the laughter, the cookies, the Emperor, all dissolved in a warm, aching, terrifying rush of memory. Thank you for listening. Subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter, and let me know what you think. I read every message.